back to our channel. Please subscribe to hear chapter books read aloud. Dr. Brad has gone mad. My Weird School Days with a Z, 1-7 by Dan Gutman. Dr. Brad has gone mad. Chapter 1, Little Miss Perfect. My name is AJ and I hate school. It was Monday morning. I had just walked into Mr. Granite's third grade class. Everybody was putting stuff into their cubbies. My friends Ryan and Michael were talking about a football game they watched over the weekend. Andrea Young, this annoying girl with curly brown hair, was talking with her friend Emily about jewelry. "Do you like my new necklace?" Andrea asked Emily. "It says love on the back." "It's really shiny," Emily said, "and it goes so nicely with your skirt." "I love to accessorize," Andrea said. "Ugh, girls are so annoying." I didn't even know what accessorize means, but it was obviously some girly things that girls do. "G'day, mates," said Mr. Granite. "Take out your reading log." Reading log? I don't even have a reading log. Who wants to read a log? How would you write on a log? Anyway, I guess you'd have to carve into it with a knife. But how could I carry a log to school? My backpack is heavy enough without having to put a log in there. I don't have I started to say. "He means your notebook, dumbhead," Andrea whispered to me, rolling her eyes. "I knew that," I lied. "The human homework machine thinks she's so smart." Me and the guys called her Little Miss Perfect for fun. Andrea reads the dictionary. "What is your problem? Why can't the reading log fall on her head?" Actually, I didn't have to take out my reading log after that, because at that moment, the most amazing thing in history of the world happened. There was a knock on the door. Well, that's not the amazing part, because doors get knocked all the time. The amazing part was what happened next. "AJ," Mr. Granite said, "will you please answer the door?" "How can I answer the door?" I asked. "Doors don't talk." "I'll do it," said Andrea, rolling her eyes. Again, Little Miss Perfect opened the door. The school secretary, Mrs. Patty, was standing there. "Mr. Granite," she said, "will you please send AJ to Mr. Klutz's office?" "Ooh," everybody oohed. "AJ's in trouble," said Michael, who never ties his shoes. "What did you do this time, AJ?" asked Ryan, who will eat everything, even stuff that isn't food. "Did you rob a bank?" asked Neil, who recalled the new kid even though he wears clothes. "Maybe you're finally get kid out of school, Arlo," said Andrea, rubbing her hands together. When people have something really bad, they rub their hands together. Nobody knows why. Andrea called me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. Andrea called me by my real name because she knows I don't like it. "Your face should get kicked out of school," I told her. I thought about all the bad things I had done recently. Maybe it was the time I put a worm in Emily's sneaker during recess. Maybe it was the time when I wrote "kick me" on a piece of paper and taped it to Andrea's back. She wasn't paying attention. I must have done something really horrible to be sent to Mr. Klutz's office. Bummer in the summer. I wanted to run away to Antarctica and go live with the penguins. Penguins are cool. They never get sent to the principal's office. I walked really slowly down the hall. The slower you walk, the longer it takes to get anywhere. If you walk slow enough, by the time you get to the principal's office, you might forget the bad things that you did. So always walk to the principal's office really slowly. That's the first rule of being a kid. Finally, after about 1,000,000 hours, I reached Mr. Klutz's office. I put my hand to the doorknob. I turned the doorknob. I pulled the door, and you never believe an amazing thing I saw in there. I'm not going to tell you what it was. Okay, I'll tell you, but you have to read the next chapter first. So, na boo boo on you. Chapter 2, The Genius. I knew you'd keep reading. When I opened the door, Mr. Klutz's office. Mr. Klutz was in there. Well, duh. Who else would be in Mr. Klutz's office? But that's not the amazing part. The amazing part was what Mr. Klutz was doing in his office. He was playing ping pong with himself. Mr. Klutz had a ping pong table in his office. He would hit the ball, and then he would run around the table to the other side and hit it back. Then he would run around the table and hit it back to himself again. Mr. Klutz is nuts. Hello, AJ, Mr. Klutz said when he noticed I was standing there. Ping pong is great for getting rid of stress. Have a seat. Where did you get a ping pong table? I asked. From Rent a Ping Pong Table, Mr. Klutz replied. You can rent anything. Mr. Klutz was all out of breath from running around the ping pong table. He sat down and asked me about the weather, what I ate for breakfast, and other stuff that nobody would care about. Principals always make chit-chat before they tell you the horrible thing that you did. Nobody knows why. Principals always make chit-chat before they tell you what the horrible thing that you did. Nobody knows why. There was a knock on the door. It was Mrs. Coco. And she came in. She's in charge of the Gifted and Talented program at elementary school. I didn't want to be in a G&T program, but she forced me. Mrs. Coco made some chit-chat with Mr. Klutz before she sat down. AJ, we need to talk about something, said Mr. Klutz. Uh-oh, here it comes. I'm sorry I put a worm in Emily's sneaker, I told them. You put a worm in Emily's sneaker? Asked Mr. Klutz. Of course not, I replied. Whatever gave you that idea? AJ, I called you down here because Miss Coco showed me some of the poems you wrote. Mr. Klutz said, they are very interesting. Interesting is an interesting word. It can mean something is really good or it can mean something is really bad. You never know. So if you're not just sure if some is good or bad, just say it's interesting. Miss Coco handed Mr. Klutz a sheet of paper and he read it out. Tomorrow's Window People by Arlo Jervis. Someone only fire should soft become hammer. Imagination. Because awkward autumn sudden neighbor remain fishhook. Glow shadow oatmeal tomorrow window people. When he finished the book, the weirdest thing in history of the world happened. Mr. Klutz and Mrs. Coco started crying. I mean, tears were running out of their faces. What a pair of crybabies. They were worse than Emily. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, Miss Coco said. The two of them were sobbing and blowing their noses into tissues. Well, they blew the snot from the noses into the tissues, not the noses themselves. If they blew their noses into the tissues, their nose would fall off. That would be weird. The truth is, I didn't even write that dumb poem. My grandma got me some flashcards so I can practice spelling words. We had an assignment to write poetry. I didn't know what to write, so I threw a flashcard up in the air, scooped them up, and wrote the words down. It was a lot easier than writing real poems. We think your poetry is brilliant, AG, Mr. Klutz said. We want to have you tested, said Mrs. Coco. What, tested? Do I have to pee in the cup? I asked. No, nothing like that, Miss Coco said. AJ, we always knew you were gifted. That's why we put you into the Gifted and Talented program. We want you to be tested to see you might be a genius. What? A genius? I'm not a genius. I'm just a regular kid. What kind of test are you going to give me? I asked. Oh, we're not going to give it to you, Mr. Klutz said. Who will? I asked. And you'll never believe who walked into the door at that moment. Nobody. Because if you walked through the door into a door, it would hurt. But you never believe who walked into the doorway. It was Brad, our school counselor. Chapter 3, Door to School. Tomorrow. Hope you like, comment, and subscribe to hear more chapter books read aloud, chapter by chapter. See you next time, my reading friends. Bye.